Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm David Duarte, your host for today's episode of Culture Before Content. We are so glad you could join us here on the Music for All podcast network. And a special thanks to Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor, for their incredible support. At Music for All, and for all of us really here at the entire Culture Before community, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music. Isn't that the truth? I've just had just a great week. I hope all of you have been having great weeks now that hopefully we're all back to school. So let's talk about our video today. Some of you got a little bit of a late start today. My apologies, but the little technology gremlins sometimes like to appear. Isn't that fun? It's like being in band and you tell your band director, I forgot to read, but you play trumpet. That's what it's like today. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please throw your comments in the chat. If you're live, you can always throw a question in there. Maybe just give us a great comment like, hey, how's the weather where you're at? How's your season going? Anything you got. And just be a part of the show. And don't forget, you can find out all about our podcast on the Music for All podcast network at musicforall, all one word, .org/podcast. And then if you're not watching us on video, you're probably listening to us. So we didn't get a late start. It's just when you hit play. We do both Apple Podcast and Spotify and many more others. Just check us out on the Music for All podcast network. And those come out on Mondays typically, but they're super fun. I listen to my own podcast. It's kind of weird hearing your own voice coming out of the car. Anyway, let's talk about last week. Last week was amazing. We had Annie Ray and Adam Kita deliver an enjoyable and personal conversation on the transformative impact of inclusive music education. They shared game-changing strategies that empower all students, including those with disabilities, through adaptive techniques and personal stories of overcoming challenges. Their warm, engaging style made complex topics relatable as they discuss building supportive, creative communities and fostering equity in the classroom. So important. It was a must listen for anyone passionate about rethinking education inclusion while enjoying an insightful and personable dialogue. And I also want to thank them. It was just a fantastic conversation, and I had a wonderful and great time. So let's get on to this week. We have a great guest today, all the way from Indiana. Well, I guess it kind of depends on where you're at, because I'm all the way over on the left coast. So anyway, today we have Tom Cox. He is an award-winning music educator from Indiana who has made a remarkable impact on a Title I school, transforming his music program into a model for success. And I want to talk about that. His innovative, inclusive teaching methods empower students from underserved communities to thrive in music, breaking down barriers and building confidence. What makes Tom especially interesting is his dedication to creating a positive, student-centered environment, focusing on culture, there's one for you, and community to foster excellence. His work shows how thoughtful leadership and creative approaches can drive student achievement in even the most challenging settings. And you're about to find out all about him and more. I can't wait to get the chance to meet. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Tom Cox.
Hi there.
Hey, Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm glad we got the gremlins at least at bay for now, so we can talk.
I know we're probably that age when we say gremlins, we think of that great movie from the 80s. And, anyways, don't give them, don't feed them after midnight. I think that's true for all of us, though. All right, Tom, let's get on to the culture behind the culture before context. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you teach, and maybe just a little about some of your successes in life, because that is why we are here.
Well, my name is Tom Cox. I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I had phenomenal band directors growing up, middle school and high school, which kind of led me down the path I'm now doing. I went to Ball State University, where I had more great teachers, and I've been very, very lucky in my career just to have fantastic people around me, teach with me every day. And so this starts my 24th year at Goshen, but 32nd year overall. So I've been doing it for a little while.
Oh my goodness, that is a while. So let's talk about your program at Goshen. So you've been there for a while. I always like telling people, talk about, I mean, I know it's been a long time, but talk about when you started and where you've taken the programs and what you have done with it. But talk about a little bit like what you remember from the takeover, because I think that's interesting. With so many teachers starting new jobs, and we all experience change differently. It's always nice to hear how someone else does it.
I tell you, the first year was not pleasant. Um, I watched a couple of your other podcasts and remember talking to or just hearing the stories about first year stuff. And my first year was horrible. Um, I moved here from Bloomington. I taught at Edgewood High School for 6 years. I started that band. I started the marching band program at Edgewood, which is right outside Bloomington. Great town. Um, but when my college band director called me and said, "Hey, take an interview at Goshen," I said, "Okay, because you're Dr. Scagnoli, and I will do what you say." So then I got the job, but we could not sell the house in Bloomington. So my wife and then my 3-year-old daughter stayed down there, and I was up here by myself. And it was not an easy transition. Great band directors. The guy that retired was fantastic. Still lives in the community. We text, we talk all the time. He comes over to rehearsal. So it had nothing to do with those when he retired. It was just different, I guess. So it took a while to turn things at least around. The program was not bad by any stretch of the imagination when I took it over. It was good, but I was new, and they had kind of had a system where like the juniors and seniors get to be in the upper band, and sophomore and freshman in the bottom band, or lower band, younger band. And when I came in, I said, well, let's just have open auditions. Best person gets the chair, and that did not go over well. I'll say that. So the first year was quite tough. I will say that.
Well, I wonder how many people, we always talk about chair placements and putting our kids in order. And I've been doing this quite a while myself, and I have found over time, going from the most talented to the least experienced, is not the optimal way to balance your band. So it's sometimes it is a balance of those things. Do you have chair placements anymore, or have you come up with a creative system?
We do only for because we had 3 concert bands, then COVID hit. We went back down to 2 concert bands. We do, but we try and rotate the parts around so it's not the same kid in the same chair every day. So it's not that important to me, but we have it basically so the kids know where to sit when they come into rehearsal.
Yeah,
They're way more interested in it than I am.
Yeah, I believe that to be true. Sometimes I probably don't even keep the same setup from one week to the next. I'm constantly battling where clarinets go, where flutes go, where this particular band sounds the best between highs and lows. Yet you never know what to expect. But I was thinking about it. So yours a Title I school, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was it always Title I, or is it something that developed over time? Because I know that in one of my programs, when I started, it wasn't Title I, but by the time I had departed, because I went to the district office, it was Title I.
I don't know if I can really, I don't know back then. I think it has gotten progressively more Title I, which has nothing to do with the kids or how they play
Nope.
or anything like that. It's just the way the community is. Goshen is very heavy RV manufacturing. We make all the RVs, and a lot of mobile home manufacturing is here in Elkhart County. So there's good work, but it's kind of where we are now with a Title I school. Um, that's kind of, I guess, where we fall economically, but I don't really use that term a lot.
Yeah, I was just thinking because I was talking to my superintendent one day a few years ago, and we came up across this Title I conversation, and we both agree. There's kids are kids. It does not matter where you're from, but it's almost the differences that I have found in my observation of visiting so many programs is it's what happens outside of the program that may cause the differences. For example, access to quality instruments, just from an affordability standpoint, private lessons, ability to travel, just some of those things. My belief when I'm teaching in Title I, and that's pretty much most of my career, has always been to provide those resources I believe my program isn't going to have. So are there things that in your philosophy of your band program that you believe your kids must have that maybe the program provides, or something that you heavily encourage and now see it as part of your band culture?
Right. We do not really have a lesson program. Um, I am very blessed to teach with amazing educators. If you don't mind, it's Josh Kaufman, Max Johnson, Max Malt. Matt is our percussion director. We've been very fortunate to get a percussion director. The administration has been fantastic about listening and saying, okay, here's what we need. And I teach in 3 buildings a day. All 5 band directors, that's the 4 of us and the percussion specialist, we all start in 6th grade band together. And I teach 6th grade band every day. And then depending on who has jazz band, myself or Josh, then we rotate who goes to the junior high to assist those bands. So that's kind of, I think the magic of Goshen a little bit is that I see them 6 through 12, and all the guys are the same way. I've been able to hire all the staff, and I have an amazing team of guys I work with. And when you all think the same, you're all pulling in the same direction. It doesn't matter how much your parents make. The school's been really good about, okay, I need this much money to buy quality instruments for my kids because they will not go get them themselves. That just does not happen. So the school's been pretty good about listening to us and providing funding. It's been up and down throughout the 24 years. It's a little bit of feast and famine sometimes, but they've been very good about listening and helping us get the quality instruments we need so we can make the good sounds.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I recommend to everyone. I've created like my recommended mouthpiece chart for every instrument, and I tell everyone, it's just my opinion, and you're welcome to deviate from the opinion. But I actually provide every one of my students with the mouthpiece that's on my chart when they walk into the band, because in one of my beliefs with Title I is I can access most likely financially the mouthpiece before I can access the instrument, and that mouthpiece can have quite a bit of an impact on a student. And so that, what I'm hearing, do you have a booster program? Do you have, and
Yes.
are they helpful with things? Or are they more on the side of fundraising for other things?
No, they're fantastic. I mean, we could not live without them. I will tell you, throughout my years, I've had amazing band boosters come through and assist us. And it's funny you talk about mouthpieces. So when so we don't start saxophones. All kids start on clarinet, and then
Same here.
we kind of control the saxophone population. Although that's what myself and Josh both play is saxophone, strangely enough. So, every kid in 6th grade, they have a C star in their mouthpiece or in their case, and they don't know any different. And the music store bills it into the price that they rent per month. But I will tell you, it's gone on throughout the years. Now we've been buying mouthpieces because the kids, they won't get the ones that we recommend. So when they rent an instrument, which is becoming less and less, I will say, by the way, we have the mouthpiece in the case for them.
Yeah, I to my listeners, I personally find that extremely important. And it's one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given is just invest in that part of your program. And we talk about quality of sound all the time, and I'm not talking we by band. I'm talking we the community talk about quality of sound, and I'm telling you that one of the best ways, especially us saxophone players, nothing is like loves life like a jazz mouthpiece in a concert band. No, don't do that, kid. So if you're really passionate about showing the kids the value of music, that's obvious from the get-go. But reflecting on how you encourage lifelong learning in your program, what are some of the things that you instill or believe in?
Every kid has the right to a music education, and it's our job to provide it for them. If their parents cannot afford an instrument, we will find one for you. And the word's gotten out. I will say, like we put an ad in the paper one year, give us all your used instruments. Then the school said, if you can get the instrument, we'll fix them. So then we got a bunch of instruments donated to us. And, some of the old instruments are even better than the ones now. So, you get some of those great old vintage instruments and they can still play if you put a decent mouthpiece on it. So every kid, again, we're not blessed to live in the ring outside Indianapolis that has tons of resources. We treat every rehearsal like a private lesson because they're not going to get one. So we teach them how to practice. Here's what you're going to do. Here's how we start. You're going to say it before you play it, all that kind of stuff. So it's been, like I said, I teach with great guys. We all have the same philosophy, and that is such a blessing. Let me tell you, I've been very blessed to find great guys to work with, and we all think the same. And so it doesn't matter if you're in 6th grade band or, the beginning jazz band at the high school, we all think the same way. We're all, for the same goal, which is to make great music.
So let's talk about that classroom at Goshen. So how big is your school? And maybe just the 912 or the six, is it 6, 8, 912? I know you said 612, or is it all one building?
So we have a 5-6 building.
Okay.
Then we have a 7-8 building and a 9 through 12. So the
How
high
big are each
school.
of the,
So yeah. So, and it's funny, we just built the 5-6 school. Gosh, 3 years ago, it seems like. So the high school is about 1750, 1720. We have an alternative school that is connected to our campus as well. The junior high is now 7-8. I still trying to not call it a middle school, but a junior high. So, I don't even know that number anymore. It's probably 1,000, I would think.
wow.
So, or probably smaller. So, the high school is 1750. And so, yeah, we've been kind of hanging around that number. Goshen is, I think, shrinking a little bit. They said, when they do all their mapping studies and all that stuff, that we might be losing some population, but we've been about that size for a good long time now.
Yeah. Oh, those enrollment reports from the area. Cause I think we're in a declining enrollment as a society overall right now in education. COVID did a little bit of, damage on getting kids to go on different routes. But as I always like to say, it's the music program seems to have its size and its route, and can be a huge attractor of kids who may have left, their public schools, or it's a reason to come back. So let's talk about your culture. So, let's start with the high school part, a part of your program. So what does a rehearsal, or what does a typical rehearsal look like for you?
I'll tell you, we just went back to 45-minute classes this year. We were on block. We were doing, we've done a myriad of things over the 24 years now. So, it used to be Monday straight 7 periods, and then Tuesday, Thursday block, Wednesday, Friday block. And I liked that because you got to see them every Monday and said, here's the schedule, but only 3 times a week. And then last year we went true alternating A-B block. So you'd see them twice one week and 3 days the next week. Now this year it's 45 minutes every single day. So it's been a bit of a relearning for us how to pace a class in 45 minutes. You do get to see them every day, which I like, but so for me as a schedule, 6th grade band is first thing in the morning, and then there's a break because I have to travel to the high school, and then it's back to the junior high to assist one of the beginning classes. One of the cool things we did was that if you didn't do band in 6th grade, you can still start in your 7th grade year or 8th grade year. So we have a class called Band Fundamentals. It doesn't matter if you're in 7th or 8th grade, but you found out about band late, but you want to join. And those kids have been great. So they're 7th or 8th graders kind of at a 6th grade level. And I teach that clarinet class. And then I have to leave to get over to my jazz band. There are 2 jazz bands and 2 concert bands right now at Goshen High School. There were 3 concert bands. We're just about big enough to go back to 3 concert bands. And then my colleague, Josh Kaufman, has his jazz band. There's a color guard class that is first semester only. So they meet separately. We were in a big crunch here in Goshen until 2015 when the band and the orchestra all shared the same space.
No.
So, and at that point, my band was, 230 kids, and the orchestra was, 180, and we're like tripping over each other. So in 2015, they actually added on to the school and built us a new room, which is fantastic. So then we're able to kind of split things out a bit more. And then marching band is a period during the day, and that can be concert bands. Now that we meet every day, we're trying to go like Tuesday, Thursday concert bands, Monday, Wednesday, Friday marching band. If it's a marching band day, then we extend the school day a little bit. And then we rehearse 2 nights a week, 6 to 9, Mondays and Thursdays.
Wow, that's a great schedule. What do you noticed? What's your biggest challenges, and what's your noticed success from transitioning from A-B back to the 45 minutes? So what are some of the things, like, I know a lot of us are out there every year going, what schedule are we going to be on this year? I laugh because we almost went to one similar, but I'm on my normal period now, but we're adding a pull time for the kids, which is awesome. It's like sectionals. But I'm just saying, what are some of the things that you've noticed going from is it 90? I would just say like 90-minute blocks down to 45s. What are some of the pitfalls, or what are some things that you could recommend?
I do like seeing them every day, but now my goals need to be weekly. About 15 years ago, I made for my wind ensemble. Here's what's measured, and we were a block, right, every other day. So I would
Mm-hmm.
have a monthly schedule or calendar. These measures will happen on these days,
Mm-hmm.
and so you know what to be prepared for. Um, and so now, with getting chairs and stands out or whatever, or a reed or fixing a horn. So now it's a bit more weekly goals. Like I need to be this far in the literature by this date. And the kids still like that. They want to know, okay, what are we doing today? Well, look on your calendar and it will tell you you're doing Hounds of Spring 1 to 34 or, things like that. So I think it's October almost. And I think we're settling down to, okay, it's really a 38-minute class. By the time you
Right.
get your stuff out, by the time you put your stuff away. And so it's a bit more like an inch thick and a mile long because it's, you got to play the long game now. You do get to see them every day, which I love, checking on the kids. Hey, how'd that test go for you? That stuff like that. Kids are coming in and stressing about the chem test next period. So you can kind of a bit more, you just see them more. And I like that. But literature, I'm still trying to pace myself and make sure I'm where I need to be when I need to be.
Yeah, that was my question, because I'm like in fundamental frenzy, and sometimes I have to look up at the clock and go, oh, it's 2 o'clock and we're done at 2:20 and we just finished fundamentals. Do I need to adjust? And then I think to myself, probably not. The fundamentals are like, my brain just keeps wrapping around the fundamentals is what takes care of the music long term. Have you had to adjust kind of your teaching structure?
Yeah. So like my jazz band, we're working on improv, right? And to get everybody to take a solo in a 38-minute class, um, trying to think we're all working on the changes now, but then Josh Kaufman, the guy I work with every day, we went together and said, we need to make our own jazz book. So we have all these licks, Parker licks and
Yeah.
John Coltrane licks and the bebop licks. And so, you're trying to get them through those things while also working on improv. So that's, been a bit of a struggle. I think just like I look at the clock, go, oh no, 7 minutes. Okay. Let's just do these 8 measures now.
Oh no, the dreaded Tom Cox is the Sigma. That's not totally my favorite word as a teacher.
Loves it.
Um, yeah, and so like I always like to say, what's your balance between fundamentals, conversation in the classroom, and literature?
Percentage or yeah, I don't know that I
I
have
mean, it does anything.
So it's fundamentals first, has to be, wind ensemble, we're gonna do the pyramid training, you're gonna work on tone quality and, working with a drone, all that kind of stuff. Jazz band, you still got to review scales, and we're working on our minor sevens now. So, you're just trying to find in the packet licks that are minor seven licks. So it's, still like 20, 20 minutes, maybe less of warm up, fundamentals. And then if we're in jazz, okay, let's do 10 minutes of everybody, just let's do 4 bars, and everybody, and 12-bar blues, you can get to 4 kids, you know. So they each take a 4-bar solo really quick just to try and keep that going. And then in the wind ensemble, I'll say I'm still trying to figure that out. I'll be completely honest and transparent on that one. Jazz band of 20 kids versus a wind ensemble of 60, and
Ooh,
getting
that's a big
everybody
class.
to do what they're doing. I don't know that I have the wind ensemble dialed in just yet.
Yeah, maybe we can share later. I think this is my conversation of life is, what do you do for fundamentals? What book are you using? And you said for Jet, I wrote my own. And so like, I have I've come up with my own version of it. And I actually have accompaniment files for my warm up. So I can actually start rehearsal at exactly 3 minutes. You talk about timing. There's expectation is 3 minutes into the hour. You have your instrument, you're in your chair, you got your thing, and then it starts, and then I can take roll. Then I can do all of the procedural things. But soon, like about a week or two from now, then that will go away, so they can do it acoustically, so to speak. But that's like, it's for me, they don't realize it's my intonation study, because if we're playing with sound sources and they're actually listening, they're going to get some of those listening skills. So have you had to adjust your literature at all between the 90s and the 45s?
No.
No, I saw the face go there.
Right.
Mm.
So I want to say no. We have a standard, and we're going to keep that standard, and we'll figure it out. So I've been pretty happy with what we've been able to do over the years with the quality of literature we play, both in jazz and in concert band. I don't think I can dial that back any. We're gonna,
No,
yeah.
I was just wondering, and what kind of literature person are you? Are you somebody that plans, 7 years ahead of what you're going to play today? Are you one of those people wait till the band meets? What kind of literature person are you?
Um, I've been on a Japanese band kick. I love all the Japanese band stuff. So like we went to Midwest a couple years ago, and and heard the I've always known about the Tokyo Kosai and all those people, and just all that great music. So I try and find for the wind ensemble a piece that no one knows, no one has ever heard of it. My secret is Bravo music. I find just
Shh.
tons. Now it's out
Now
there.
that you've told everybody,
That's
okay.
right. I think I'll pat myself on the back for this. I love to listen to music and all kinds of music. Um, but when it comes to wind ensemble, something new, something old, a march, like we'll have 5 or 6 marches in the folder, and then I'll let the kids choose. We'll do a I don't know, a Google form or whatever, and say, okay, rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all on the for Indiana. Group 1 is the highest. So to me, they're all 5 on the Group 1 list. I don't care. uh, so they can pick which one they want, and then I pick one, and then we'll just kind of see how it goes. Like the strength of the band is different every year, right? So you finally got a solid French horn section. Oh, great! Now they graduate. So now it's okay. So maybe don't give them the hardest literature you can find for horns and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, in jazz band, everybody asks, what's your favorite kind of music or band? What's your favorite band? So the one I'm in front of, that's my
Mhm.
favorite band. Um, and so for jazz, we've been, like I said, Josh Kaufman, he went to UNC and got his master's in jazz saxophone. He's just a phenomenal musician. So we're always listening and finding tunes for each other. And in wind ensemble, I go to Midwest and listen to everything, and I'll go back in their archives and listen to a band from you know 1998 if I don't know that tune. So I'm always listening, and I that's my part of my fun is when I'm mowing the grass. My wife knows, what are you listening to out there? Oh, you got to check out this new Japanese band piece. Or she's like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to me because, and again, you've got your marching program, you've got your jazz program, you've got your concert band program, and it sounds like right now are all three running at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, so that cannot happen by director and staff alone. You must have some type of student leadership or something that works for you for your students, and that goes with the concert band and the jazz band. Because if you're still keeping your standards, I am sure you have kids that are dedicated, and maybe that's the question: is it either leadership or student dedication? What are your tricks of the trade to get either leadership or get your kids to be engaged in your program?
It starts in 6th grade. The standard of, both feet flat on the floor, get your elbows away from your sides, clarinets, all the way up to the wind ensemble. Um, there's always music coming. There's always music playing as the kids enter the room every day. And I tell them, I don't really want you to warm up until we're going to do it together because I want them to listen, right? And so the whole thing has been a tone model, right? If it's the jazz band, then we want to sound like Buddy Rich or Toshiko Akiyoshi or and if it's wind ensemble, okay, here's the Tokyo Kosai or North Texas. So those are always going. And I feel like we've been able to really, the kids have bought in with the music. I've got kids that are sending me tunes right now. Hey, Mr. Cox, can we read this in jazz band? Do we have this in the files? Um, and a little bit of a legacy now, I'll say, after being here 20 years, that, you know, my brother played, I don't know, some Sousa March, right? Can we play that? Can we play the Circus Bee? Can we play whatever? Um, and so it's been great just to kind of see that happen. The trick of the trade is good music. Pick good music. The kids will love it. If you love it, they love it. I've been very blessed in my life with children of my own. And I have a 26-year-old that's getting married. And then my wife and I adopted years ago. I have a 15 and a 14. And they're always like, oh, well, Sydney played this. Are we going to play this? Like, well, you might read it. We'll read it. We'll see. So the trick of the trade is good music, and if you're excited, they're excited.
So how do your students stay involved in all of this? Like I said, maybe marching band is happening pretty full right now. What do you have a leadership program?
Yep.
What kind of, what is your structure of your leadership for your students?
So we do not call them section leaders. They're called mentors. And every mentor has 5 or 6 kids that they're checking on. Some sections are bigger than others. So sometimes, there's like if we have 8 bass clarinets, then we may just have 1 mentor. But then the clarinet section of 30 needs 3 mentors or whatever. And so Joel Denton has been a part of our band family for many years. Joel visits us every year, and he's a fantastic human being as well as an educator. He's one of my mentors. And so it's mentors. We call them mentors. And their job is to just, hey, don't forget your black socks on Saturday. And then they always have an extra pair in their bag, so that, because if that freshman, they won't come up to me and ask, right? I said, if you have an issue, you go to your mentor first. If the mentor can't help you, go to the drum majors. If the drum majors can't help you, you can bring it to us. Our office is always open. But a lot of times you can get that question answered by your mentor. And that's really worked for us.
Well, your reflection on teamwork within the program shows how essential it has been to your success. And it seems like collaboration is a driving force behind the achievements of your ensemble. How does your staff then split up some of the teamwork? Like I know what you've talked about your schedule and some of the things, but what does the split look like between responsibilities on your staff?
So for marching band, so we have 5 band directors. The oldest band director is 78 years old, and he's the guy that hired us. His name is Max Malt. He's a legend in Goshen. I think he could run for mayor and win. Democrat or Republic, it wouldn't matter, because it's Max Malt. And he has been the driving force. Dave Plank those guys were the guys running the program before I came here. And Dave Plank retired, and Max Malt stayed on. Tried to retire a couple times, but he just couldn't do it. He loves kids too much. So Max is really the driving force of 6th grade. And right now, we're able to split up a little bit. So I take clarinets, and Josh takes flutes, and Max Johnson, who's a Goshen grad, went to Ball State, had his own programs for a while, was off, kind of learning the band director thing, and then we tempted him back to Goshen. So he's a Goshen grad, and he's in charge of the middle school, 7th and 8th grade. And then Josh and I are kind of their sectional guys when we're over there. Take the trumpets today, just get through measure 14 through 28, or, we'll walk through the door and he'll just point, and then the clarinets get up and come with me. At the high school, Josh and I are in charge. It's whatever needs to be done. For marching band, the middle school guys, so not Max Malt. He said, I'm not doing marching band anymore. But Max Johnson, March Madison Scouts, he's great. He does the brass. So Max Johnson, who's the middle school band director, he's the head middle school band director. He does brass. And then like Josh Kaufman, he runs the tower because he's great at it. He was a Cavalier. And so, the title thing, on everything we put co-director of bands because we all just run it together. We've been very blessed to have great color guard staff that's been with us for many, many years. Everybody on my staff has drum corps experience except me. I didn't do it. It wasn't in the cards at that point. And so we've been really good about, we all check in every day with each other at the end of rehearsal. Did you get what you need? Nope. I need more time on the field just with the guard. And then Matt, who runs our percussion program, he's like, okay, I need the field because we got rained out yesterday. We couldn't teach, the battery, their sets or whatever. So it's a great family, it's not the biggest staff in the world, but we all communicate really well. And we have our own text strain that, at 11 o'clock at night, oh, wait, did we get the butter braids out of the freezer for the whatever? So
those butter braids. Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a great team, I'm very, like I said several times, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, and then I think of culture, and I think of like all these other C words that match up with it. I'm thinking culture, community, connection, and all those things. And you just mentioned a tech strain, so that goes back to like now I've gone on communication strain. Do you have a like how do you communicate? Does communication go well with you and your students, you and your staff? Is there a select way that you use it, or what's your methodology of staying connected and communicating with your students?
The school corporation uses something called Parent Square, and that's great because it can. So my band is 85% Hispanic, and I don't speak Spanish. I took French. Go figure. Um, but Parent Square has been great because they can get it in the language that is best for them. Um, then we just started using My Music Office this year. Shout out to Pete Sampson at Whiteland Community High School. He's been great with My Music Office. Then you can send anything out, you know, at any time, and it will post in whatever time you want. We share a Google Drive with the kids that has, you know, all the music we're working on. It has like the video from the marching band run last night. Um, so the kids have access that way. The Google Drive has all the handouts in it in Spanish and English so that we can communicate that way as well.
For those of you out there, I am also a Parent Square aficionado. I have come to like it's now, and if those of you who use it, you'll appreciate that word because appreciate is the way I know my kids are reading it. So if I've said it, please appreciate it so that I know that you're. And it's funny that you said that because we're doing computer by Bob Minter, and I sent out the 85 to
Yeah.
that section files. And I got back a bunch of, oh, this is helpful. I'm like, yeah, it's like as if this stuff really works, but you can really connect, and it does meet the kids on their hour. But I'm always interested on how different. I used to use Remind, and then Remind got bought by Parent Square. And I know there are several, some people use the band app, some people use social
Mm-hmm.
media. I have found since COVID that the less I use social media, the more my band actually talks. And it's a little bit, it's nice to get them off of social media for some of those things. So
Right.
we talked a little about communication. So let's talk about community. It sounds like you have a fantastic community, just overall. And so maybe you can talk about that community, how well why not how well, how do you reach out to the community? How does the community support you and how do you support them?
Goshen is a cool little town. I'll tell you that. Um, so back in the early 2000s and the 90s, like I said, we're like I don't know if we're the world headquarters, but I think I've heard that told to me before for manufactured housing and for RVs. And so there's a lot of blue collar labor here that pays pretty well. And so then the Hispanic population moved in the early 2000s, and Goshen was really awesome about it. They said, you know what, we'll figure it out. We'll get translators. We'll do all that. And I think a lot of the communities around Goshen kind of said, this is like Goshen's got that figured out. You guys should go to Goshen. Um, and so it's a good mix. If you drive 20 miles, you'll be in Amish country when we don't really have any Amish kids at Goshen. They don't come to Goshen. They go to the smaller schools around Goshen. But a very big Hispanic community in Goshen. The high school is now 65% Hispanic. My band is more like 85, maybe even 90% Hispanic. And the kids have been, kids are kids. I don't care if you're white, brown, blue, polka dotted. Sit down, let's play. And if you need something, we'll help you get it. And the band boosters have been fantastic about reaching out. We've been really inclusive with everybody. My band boosters, they're great at filling out grants and all that kind of stuff. So we could get like a matching pit crew wear, right? For the moms and dads that help push marimbas and set up the sideline stuff. We all have matching shirts and all that kind of stuff. So the boosters have been really instrumental in just reaching out and trying to get everybody involved. We have translators about for everything. My kids, if you're missing a rehearsal, we call home. If I don't know why, you get a phone call home. I want to make sure you're okay. Did you fall off your bike on the way here? Mom and dad, you think you're with me? I think, are you at home sick? So every rehearsal that a kid's not here, we call them. And when I hear the phone say, bueno, then I call my drum majors over and my drum majors help me figure it out. Because it's been that way. And I think everybody appreciates that and likes that. Goshen is a one high school town. It's kind of rare anymore, but everybody's for Goshen. We've been very blessed with great support in our community, both from the school corporation and from the parents in the community. I think everybody, success breeds success. And I think at this point now, 24 years in, the little kids that are in band, because their older and brothers and sisters were in band, and they know, hey, the band's good. The band's, strict. But Mr. Cox and Mr. Kaufman and Mr. Mull, they're all going to be there for you every single day. And I think the community likes that. And so we've been great with, we've done well over the years, but I think that's just the dedication of the kids and really the staff that, works hard.
Yeah, it's fascinating to reflect on how you've adapted to the changing needs of your program and the changing needs of your community. How much have you had to adapt and grow over these 20 years?
I hope I grow every year. Having kids of your own in the program has made me a better band director. If I don't tear up, when my daughter Sydney was in the band, it really changed me. It really did. Dad, you don't have to be that mean. Just tell them what you want. I was like, oh yeah. But that has been a great joy for me to have my kids in my own program. And I learned, just to look. The kids know what's going on. If you can't play your part that day, or the playing test is coming up, or the pass off, or whatever, I think I've become a bit more, maybe let's not say easier, but understanding. Kids have a lot going on at home, and so sometimes it's more important that the kid knows you care before you, rake them over the coals because they're 5 minutes late. Everybody that comes to marching band late, the first question is, are you okay? Yeah, we're fine. It's just dad got out of late, and we only have one car. So dad got out of work late or whatever. So I think I hope I'm becoming more understanding and um I don't know. I maybe my wife is the best thing ever. So and then when you have your kids in your own program, you learn to maybe chill out a little bit on
Perhaps
maybe.
it's another one of those C words. Perhaps you've just become more compassionate as you've become a band director, as you've gotten older. As I like to tell people, the older I get, the less I seem to know, because it's what I thought I knew when I was in my 20s and 30s. And now I'm like, okay, I know less and less, but I've learned how to adapt and grow. And I think that compassion, that story about just, are you okay? What great advice to give to any band director when a kid shows up late. Are you okay? That's
Mhm.
that connection that I think many of us sometimes forget. We're so, we get so involved in our competitions and we get so
Right.
involved in how many things. Sometimes I think we forget to like connect to that kid. Um, you have any other advice for a band director on building a program and the way you do things?
It's not going to happen overnight. Um, my first goal, and I stated the goal, and I wrote the goal out, and everybody knew what the goal was I wanted the concert band to make concert band state finals. And in Indiana, it doesn't matter on school size. It's the top scoring 16 ensembles, depending if you're in a big school like Carmel or a small school. Um, and so my goal was concert band state finalist. It took me 7 years to get them into concert band state finals, and then we've not missed since.
That that actually asks me a question. What did you change to get there? What were the things that you noticed? Because sometimes we all think sometimes I think some people get focused on the music as the reason, but I think when you finally chase that success and you backtrack to what you did, it's probably something more than that. Like, what were some of the things that you had to change in those first 7 years?
So one of the things I mentioned it earlier is my kids are like, I would be prepared if you told me what we were going to do that day ahead of time. And I was like, boom, wow, what a concept. The kid wants to know what measures are we going to rehearse on Thursday so that, Tuesday and Wednesday I can practice for it. So then I went through every piece we played and I made a chart. And here's on this day, these measures. Come heck or high water, or if it's a snow day or whatever. And then I built in makeup days, right? Or, today's let's run from 1 to 57 just as a check. And so for me, I got more organized, and for them, they got prepared. And I think the kids really liked that. And that really kind of maybe turned the switch for us is that, if you have like, we had a phenomenal, the choir directors are great here now, don't get me wrong. But the one that retired, she was famous for saying, "Make a plan, work a plan." That's Marcia Yost, and I learned a lot from her because she is a master teacher. My daughter was in choir as well, as in band. Um, and so you have to make a plan, and then you got to share your plan, and then you got to let everyone know what the plan is, so that we can all be prepared. And I think that really helped kind of move the dial for us. Um, they didn't really have a jazz state finals for a long time now. Indiana
Mhm.
does, and we've been in those finals as well. So I think for me as a young director, and when I got the Goshen job, I necessarily wasn't a young director anymore. But in that first couple of years in Goshen, then I think that really kind of turned the dial for us, is that I had to make a plan and share it.
So, a side note on my question here, I actually have a purpose to this. So, you're a sax player, correct?
Yes, sir.
As all people should be. I'm just throwing that out there.
Mm,
Um, and learn your doubles, just throwing that out there as well.
yes.
Would you consider and this, I have it's really the follow-up question, but I like to see where you come from on this, which is, are you more of a classical, when you grew up, were you more of a classically trained or were you more of a jazz person?
I was a jazz person.
Because I think a lot of us, I'm a classically trained person, but holy cow, did my jazz, when I got to college at the very end, my switch flipped and I became the jazz person because I hear the passion in every one of those ensembles that you teach. I hear the passion for the marching band, passion for the concert band, and the passion for a jazz band. And that takes a great band director to be able to pull off all three. We can't all be specialists of all three. So does your jazz band meet inside of the school day, or is it a before or after school?
We have two jazz bands that meet curricularly every day.
That is amazing. And so, like I said, how do you balance some of these? Because I think that's some of the other things too. Because I always hear people's opinions on I got to quit reading Facebook. It just drives me insane. Because really, it's like you don't have to pick. We can do things a different way, people. It's okay. It can be different. You don't have to worry. And so I think as a jazzer that we do things a different way because we have to. So like, how do you, and I'm sure that you have kids that join jazz that aren't necessarily flute, sax, clarinet, or sorry, I'm doing wind ensemble. Aren't necessarily
Mhm.
sax, trumpet, and trombone players or rhythm section players. So how do they encourage others to do both of the programs, or how's your experience been on getting kids to be on both sides of the program?
So we don't really have. Max Johnson does a middle school jazz band that is after school, and I think that kind of maybe turns the light on for some of them. And then we try to play for them. So we'll take our advanced jazz band to the junior high and show them what's possible. And I think that switches, then maybe that fire is lit by that sometimes, that they hear the upper jazz band like, oh, whoa, that's cool. And so we've never really had a problem filling the jazz bands. We can sometimes make 3 jazz bands. Mr. Kaufman's jazz band is a mega jazz band at times, because we don't want to turn anyone away. But he'll have a double sax section and stuff like that, just because so many kids want to do it. So it's been, I mean, the concert bands, you have to be in a concert band to be in a jazz band. That's our rule. It doesn't work that way everywhere. But you
Okay.
have, I mean, and we have a phenomenal orchestra program. And we're all great friends. The orchestra director and I went to the same high school, Fort Wayne Northrop. And so he knows, I know what you need. He played bass in Barry Ashton's jazz band, and I did too. And he's like, I'll get you your bass players. And so it's been a good thing working, from that. It's just that we all support each other and know what each other needs. So, the junior high guys are like, hey, let's do some bass. And they really help get us our string bass players, and sometimes our pianists too. My pianist right now is an amazing young lady that plays great viola. My lead alto, check this out. My lead alto, this kid, he's my first chair oboe. He's my lead alto. He's now playing trombone in the second jazz band because he wants to learn it. And he's the lead quad player in the marching band.
Yeah, I will say that this is my opinion going here, but if a kid's a good musician, it doesn't matter what instrument they play. It just takes a few weeks to learn a new instrument, and then it really just comes down to getting characteristic tone on that new instrument. And I get so, I guess that's me. I'm thinking about all these musical Broadway shows that I have to play sometimes, and I hear people, "Oh, you can't play that; it's going to ruin your embouchure." And I keep thinking to myself, "How is that? How does that work exactly?" So if I start clapping, it's going to ruin my snapping fingers. I never understood that as a multi-wind player, but like it's really neat to me. Do you have kids that are like, do you have kids that favor jazz, kids that favor wind ensemble and do both? I mean, is there a what's that personality stream like with your band?
I think depending on where we are and what we're doing, what season it is, kids, I don't know if I want to do marching band. Now that freshman tuba player is like, Mr. Cox, do you know about Carolina Crown? Yeah, I've heard of them once or twice. And so I think the kids are turned on by the other kids, like what they're doing. Like, Josh's son is our center snare, and so he's drum corps, knows all the marching band stuff, all the drum corps. He's also the my top drummer in the top jazz band, and so kids are turned on by what I think the juniors and seniors are doing, and that's been really cool as far as the legacy of the Goshen band. That the kids I think the young kids, they don't want to say it, but they're looking at the older kids all the time and kind of seeing what they're doing and what they got into. So it's really cool to see a kid that, like, I don't know if I want to do marching band. It's so much time. And now we had just had our third show last night. The kid's like, that was awesome. That was great. I'm so glad I did it.
So do you have any good stories of kids that, they were that anti kid, they almost quit band, but then after like half a season of marching band, they are forever addicted? Do you have any of those stories?
Oh yeah. It seems like there's one every year, that like the first chair clarinet girl. I don't know if I want to, I think I'm more interested in concert band. Like, well, we have both at Goshen. You can do both. And so now, like we had a saxophone player move away. His parents said, "Hey, we're moving to Michigan." So we went to this girl's like, "Hey, would you be interested in like learning alto?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think so." And now she's like, "Can I stay on alto?" And I'm like, we'll see what the concert bands need really first. So the kids are, there seems to be like one every year that, especially coming across from the junior high, I don't want to do marching band. I don't want to do marching band. And marching band is pretty important in Indiana. We love it. We do it. We try and keep it balanced, but there's
I
always
have
a
heard
kid that
that.
likes that.
I have heard that about Indiana bands. I've heard they're pretty okay in marching band and a lot of other bands as well. All
Yeah.
right. So it is coming down to the final few minutes here, but I want to first off, I see your email has popped up on the screen. So I'm going to share that with our listeners, and those of you who are viewers, you can see it. But it's tcox at Goshen, spelled GOSHENSECHOOLS.org. So Tim Cox at Goshen School. I said it wrong. GoshenSchools.org. I can't even talk today. I'm
Do you,
having my,
do you
it's
know
one of those days.
I have a twin brother named Tim.
I
Do you know
do
that?
know that. I
Do you?
do know that because, and also if you guys could get your name just a little bit closer for me so that my little weird brain could like handle the fact that you're one letter apart, that'd be great.
I is for drumstick. O is for saxophone. That's how
Oh,
you know.
oh,
And my brother, outside of my wife, is my best friend. We talk almost every day, and so he's really if you don't have a special person that you talk to or confide in, he's now left band directing, but he's still involved with Music for All. He helps run the Indianapolis Public Schools. He's trying to a mentor for them. But I will say for everybody, if you don't have a mentor or someone to talk to, get one. Find somebody. I was lucky when I was at Edgewood. It was Jim DeCaro and Janice Stockhouse, who was at Bloomington North. So if you're a young person, seek out those older guys. I think that's part of our mission as the older guys now, is to help the young guys and talk to them, because my first job was in the middle of nowhere, Southmont Junior Senior High School, and I had no one to talk to. And then I moved to Bloomington, and luckily I had an older band director with me. And if I could give any advice to the young band directors, it's find the older guys. They've been through it. They know your stories. They can help and probably want to.
well, I hate to say this, Mr. Cox, but we are becoming the older band directors out there.
Yes, we are.
Oops, no, we're still
Yeah.
doing good. Good,
All
yay,
right.
jeans. All right. Well, that is our show for today. So I want to just say personally, thank you, Mr. Cox. You are way too humble because all I hear from you is all the things band directors should do, communicate. humble, check in with your kids, have an organizational plan, be that person for your kids. And you are more than that. And to our listeners out there, I want you to know that it has just been overwhelming with all the positive comments that have been going on down there, including your brother. Don't lie. We all know it was him for one of them, but that shows the love, the support in the community. And so I beg all of you to reach out, because all you're going to do is get amazing sage advice. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's been my true honor. If I can help anybody and anywhere, just reach out.
You got it. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Well, all right, kids, we made it through another show. That was great. I love learning. I'm starting to realize that the power of the band director is sometimes in just listen and try to figure. I know what they say, but then it's really what they do. Well, I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Culture Before Content here on the Music for All podcast network. We immensely thank Yamaha for their continued support as our national presenting sponsor. Remember, share this video everywhere. Tell people all about our podcast. Go to musicforall.com/podcast site and find wherever you need to share those podcasts. And I hope to see you all next week.